Magandang gabi, Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao at sa ating mga kababayan sa abroad, lalo na ang mga OFW. Samahan niyo ako sa loob ng isang oras na talakayan tungkol sa mga usapin at mga pangyayari sa ating bansa at paghimay sa mga programa ng ating pamahalaan para sa bawat Pilipino sa bagong Pilipinas. Ako ang inyong papasek o Presidential Advisor for Poverty Alleviation, Secretary Larry Gadon. At ito ang Larry Gadon Live! Larry Gadon Live dito sa PTV. Nitong Martes, Abril 29 ay isinagawa ang ikalawang Poverty Alleviation Forum sa DMW Building sa Makati Office. Sa pangunguna ng inyong lingkod, ang forum na ito ay may titulong Social Amelioration, Strengthening Support for Poverty Reduction. Binigyan diin sa pagpupulong ang mga hakbang upang tugunan ang kahirapan sa bansa kung saan iba't ibang ahensya ng pamahalaan ang dumalo bilang sumbulo ng pagtutulungan ng administrasyon. Bahagi rin ito ng layunin ng ating Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. na maibaba sa single digit ang antas ng kahirapan sa Pilipinas pagsapit ng taong 2028. Ang programa ngayong gabi ay inilaan natin sa forum upang maibahagi din sa ating mga taga-subaybay ang mga natalakay ng ating mga guest speakers mula sa Department of Migrant Workers, Department of Interior and Local Government, Department of Labor and Employment at Department of Agrarian Reform. Pero bago tayo tumungo riyan, ay muli ko lang din babatiin ng ating mga kababayan, lalo na ang mga OFW ng Happy Labor Day. Mabuhay ang mga manggagawang Pilipino sa bawat sulok ng Pilipinas, maging sa labas ng bansa. Sama-sama naman nating tunghayan ang mga naganap sa Second Poverty Alleviation Forum.
As we work toward improving and localizing poverty reduction efforts through dialogue, transparency, and collaborative reform. To officially open today's forum, may we now welcome the Presidential Advisor for Poverty Alleviation. Please give a warm round of applause to Secretary Lorenzo Larry Gadon.
Maraming salamat. It is an honor to speak before you today as we strengthen our commitment to one of the most urgent calls of our time, to uplift the lives of our fellow Filipinos and bring about lasting, inclusive, and dignified poverty alleviation efforts. Under the visionary leadership of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., we are working toward a bold yet achievable target to bring the poverty rate in the Philippines down to a single digit before the end of this term, ideally at least 9%. A mission grounded in data, in determination, and most importantly, in our deep love for this country. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all the agencies who have sent officials and representatives today. Thank you for your time by lending your voices and expertise and embracing the significance of today's dialogue and for being true partners in progress. Your presence reaffirms that we are working together as one government committed to real change and lasting change. Lowering the poverty rate is not just a number or rhetoric. It is a promise. Isang pangako sa bawat pamilyang Pilipino na walang maiiwan at walang mawawalan ng pag-asa. This forum focuses on one of our strongest tools in achieving that promise, the social amelioration and support. But this initiative does not stand alone. It is supported by solid pillars that must work together. And these are not just government sectors, they are lifelines. They are stories They are lived realities. Hindi ko rin palalampasin ang pagkakataong ito para pasalamatan ng ilan sa ating mga katuwang na ahensya na may mahalagang papel sa pagbawas ng kahirapan. First, ang social welfare. Ang DSWD bilang pangunahing tagapagpatupad ng social protection programs ay patuloy ang pag-abot sa mga maralita sa panahon ng sakuna o sa araw-araw na hamon ng buhay. Additionally, through the DA and DAR, we are strengthening agricultural productivity, land distribution, and farmers' empowerment. These are paths to ensuring food security, increasing incomes in the countryside, and laying down the groundwork for sustainable rural development. Sa pamumuno ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, hindi maaring magutom ang mga nagpapakain sa ating mga kapwa Pilipino. Ang DILG na siyang nagtutulak ng mahusay na pamamahala sa mga lokal na pamahalaan ay mahalagang tulay sa pagpapatupad ng mga programa ng nasyonal sa antas ng barangay. Sa pamamagitan ng DILG, nasisiguro nating may malasakit at epektibong delivery ng serbisyo sa mismong komunidad. Ang DMW, ang bagong tatag na Department of Migrant Workers, ay katuwang natin sa pagkalinga sa mga OFWs at sa kanilang mga pamilya. Ang kanilang welfare, protection at repatriation programs ay mahalagang aspeto ng social protection. Second, ang health. What good is progress if our people are sick and dying too soon? With support from agencies like DOH and local health units, healthcare is becoming less of a privilege and more of a promise fulfilled. Third, education. Through TESDA, CHED, and DepEd, we are providing both traditional educational skills-based training that prepares Filipinos for today's jobs. Not just jobs of the past, and our One TVET initiative is opening doors for many out-of-school youth, and with every certification, every competency learned, every diploma earned, we move closer to a future where poverty is no longer inherited. And fourth, employment and livelihood. A decent job does more than feed a family. It restores dignity. Through TUPAD and DOLI's countless local livelihood programs, we are bringing jobs where they are needed. Most rural areas and urban poor communities, fisherfolk, farmers and informal workers, we are creating an ecosystem where a tricycle driver can become a small business owner, where a vendor can become a supplier, where a graduate of TESDA course can land a job with dignity and stability. Ang kolektibong pagkilos ng mga ahensya na ito ay bumubuo ng malawak at komprehensibong tugon sa kahirapan. Poverty is a systemic challenge, and it is systemic, then it can be solved. Masosolve natin yan. Marami pa tayong mga presentasyon na gagawin ng ating mga participants ngayong araw na ito. Bigyan daan na natin ang partisipasyon ng ating mga bisita.
Starting off with our first plenary session on Innovations and Social Amelioration Program Delivery, or SAP Delivery. This is going to be discussed by the Undersecretary of the Department of Migrant Workers, representing Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak. We have Undersecretary Dominique Nikki Rubia Tutay.
So siguro forward ko muna sa aking presentation because it speaks about innovation on social amelioration program. When we speak of innovation, let's not just think probably of technology or digitalization. Siguro when we speak of innovation, it's about pagbabago. What is it that complements the things that we are already doing? So for me po, innovation in social amelioration would speak also about inclusivity. When we talk of migrant workers, hindi lamang po ito yung tinatawag natin na regular migrants or with contracts, but we also talk about those who have been victimized by illegal recruitment at nakarating po po sa ibang bansa, yun po, kailangan pa rin nating tulungan. In the Department of Migrant Workers, we have 3 strategic priorities. Pamula po, bago pa magdesisyon ng ating mga OFWs na pumunta ng ibang bansa, sila po ay binibigyan na natin ng proteksyon. And that is our strategic priority number 1. Safe and orderly overseas migration is ensured. Pangalawa po, yung pong mga countries of destination, we also engaged with them to ensure that the rights of our migrant workers are also protected. Ito po, nakarating na ang ating mga kababayan sa ibang bansa upang maghanap buhay, upang tulungan ang kanilang pamilya. At sa kanila pong pagtatrabaho abroad, nandoon pa rin po ang ating pamahalaan. So, under the one country team approach, headed of course by the Department of Foreign Affairs, the DMW works abroad to help our kababayans through the different migrant workers offices and also the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration. So, habang sila po ay nasa ibang bansa, they can be assured that the Philippine government is with them to provide welfare and protection services. The third strategic priority, which is the full cycle reintegration that is achieved, eto naman po, pagbabalik po nila sa ating bansa. So, pwedeng ang pagbabalik po sa ating bansa ay pangmatagalan na, desisyon na po nila, or pwedeng pansamantala lamang at gusto pa rin po nila na magkaroon ng hanap buhay abroad. But whatever the reason for the reintegration or for the return in the country, meron pa rin pong mga programa at serbisyo para po sa ating mga OFWs. Ito po yung isa sa masasabi po natin sentro ng pagbibigay serbisyo para po sa ating mga OFWs at ang kanila pong mga pamilya. Meron po tayong tinatawag na agarang kalinga at saklolo para sa mga OFWs na nangangailangan or aksyon. Ito po ay pinondohan po ng ating Pangulo at ng Kongreso ng about 1.2 billion a year. And for last year po, we were able to benefit 135,000 beneficiaries na po to the tune of 1.4 billion. Iyan po, innovation again in terms of iba't ibang klaseng amelioration program to provide assistance sa atin pong mga OFWs such as legal assistance. And then you have the labor and welfare related assistance. So iba't ibang klase po ito, from food to transport to repatriation. Yan po, binibigay po natin. Psychosocial services, meron din po tayong binibigay sa ating mga kababayan. Medical assistance, repatriation assistance, lalong-lalo na po yung mga naiipit po sa mga giyera sa iba't ibang bansa. Specifically po, siguro ma-mention natin yung Israel at saka po yung Lebanon. And then, repatriation also for those who have been victimized by illegal recruitment in Myanmar. So, napunta po sila sa Bangkok at ngayon po, sila po ay nakauwi na po sa ating bansa. Ito naman po yung ating Overseas Filipino Hospital. This is the first actually for the overseas Filipino workers and their families. Since July 2022 po, we were able to provide services to 197,000 patients and more than 378,000 different medical procedures. So some of which would include either urgent care or emergency care. Meron din pong major and minor surgeries. Meron din pong labor delivery, dental, hospital, radiology, laboratory, and respiratory, and of course, sa atin pong heart station. So while the hospital is located in San Fernando, Pampanga, we will be expanding the services po of the OFW hospital through different siguro help desk in different malls. Yun po ang vision ng atin pong kalihim Secretary Hans Leo J. Kakdak. And then magkakaroon din po tayo sa mga international airports and terminals very soon. And probably dito rin po sa office ng DFW sa Makati and doon po sa Ortigas. Just to emphasize, dun po sa OFW hospital po, zero ang binabayad po ng ating mga kababayan. And they're also provided medicines, free medicines po. Okay, there was also a mention of how important education is, and for the DMW through OWA, meron po tayong scholarship programs para po sa ating mga OFWs, including po their dependents. It's a subsidy, hindi naman po siya ganun kalaki. Pero on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis, it's able to help yung iba-iba pong pangangailangan ng ating mga estudyante. Hindi lang naman, kasi meron na po tayong libreng tuition, but the support can also be spent for transport or even for school supplies, books ng ating pong mga estudyante. Innovation can also be in a form of care and the comfort for our OFWs. Marami pa po tayong mga ibibigay na serbisyo sa building po na ito. We would also have a wellness center po. Probably it will be located in the 6th floor for the service of our OFWs. And then, dun po sa ground floor, kung makikita niyo po yung Migrants Brew ng OWA and also po yung Action Center natin. Iba't ibang agencies po ang magbibigay po ng mga serbisyo dito po sa ground floor para po sa ating OFWs. And in December of last year po, there was already a groundbreaking ceremony for the OFW Hospital Bagong Pilipinas Cancer Care Center. So we do hope that the cancer care facility will be operational by next year. And ang partner po natin dito ay ang Department of Health and also ang DPWH and the province of Pampanga. So yun po ang mga serbisyo na maaari pang magbigay tugon sa pangangailangan po ng ating mga OFWs. Ito naman po, as they return home, the basic service that we give is, of course, livelihood. Yung kasing livelihood, hindi naman po tayo lahat ay merong expertise sa livelihood. And therefore, dyan po pumapasok yung tinatawag po natin ng kaalaman or training. So, pwede kang ma-train, but your track would be either through livelihood or pwede rin po sa wage employment. Okay? And then, Kalinga, as I have mentioned, kasi pagbalik po ng ating mga kababayan dito sa ating bansa, marami pa po rin silang mga trauma na pinagdaanan. And therefore, psychological or psychosocial services is still very much relevant for our returning OFWs. And we partner not just with DOH, but also with DSWD for this specific service.
Our next speaker, Assistant Secretary Amerfina R. Reyes.
So the Department of Labor and Employment has a core mandate to promote gainful employment opportunities, develop human resources, protect workers and promote their welfare, and maintain industrial peace. And to operationalize this core mandate and to address also the evolving needs of our workforce, and at the same time promote inclusive economic growth and social protection for our workers, the DOLE formulated the Labor and Employment Plan covering the period 2023 to 2028. is also aligned with the Philippine Development Plan. So then this slide will show you what has been mentioned earlier, that the Philippine labor market has shown strong employment performance as of February 2025 with a high employment rate of 96.2, and this represents about or around 49.15 million employed individuals. But of course, there are challenges that remain with an employment rate at 3.8%. Pero sabi nga, ang trend ngayon in the last 2 or 3 years, bumababa po ang ating unemployment rate, tumataas ang ating employment rate. And there's still an underemployment rate of 10.1%. So this indicates that while we have achieving well in the last 2 or 3 years, we cannot rest upon our laurels. So we have to also see that there is still a significant portion that remains to be needing jobs or engaged in jobs that are inadequate in terms of income or working hours. This figure suggests also that despite high employment rates, we still have to address the issues of job quality and regional inequality as still remain to be persisting. And we need to underscore the need for targeted economic and social interventions, particularly in the Visayas and Mindanao regions. Our country continues to face some persistent challenges that threaten inclusive growth and social well-being. And one of those mentioned is the need for more quality employment and livelihood opportunities. Addressing these interconnected issues requires coordinated government action. And the DOLE contributes to addressing these development challenges by promoting decent work, expanding livelihood opportunities, and strengthening workers' protection. And through job creation, upskilling programs, and social welfare initiatives, the DOLE improves access to employment and basic services for our people. And some of the things that we have been doing in partnership with other government agencies is preparing the workforce for the future of work and also to enhance their employability. And on November 7, 2024, our President has signed the Enterprise-Based Education and Training Framework Act. And it is also good to know that we are currently developing the Tatak Pinoy Strategy Map, or the roadmap, being spearheaded by our DTI. And in addition to that, there is also the passage of, we also support the Lifelong Learning Development Bill. And the next slide will show you some strategic pillars of skills development. We have, for one, the Philippine Qualifications Framework. And this Philippine Qualifications Framework provides a national policy as a framework for educational qualifications that are aligned with industry needs and international standards. And this is complemented by the Philippine Skills Framework, which provides more detailed sector-specific skills map that identify current and emerging competencies required in key industries. Mahalaga pong banggitin din na ang DOLE ho ay isa rin sa aktibo sa mga interagency councils like the Philippine Digital Workforce Competitiveness Act. And of course, our TESDA has been providing upskilling, retooling, and training for our workers. Nandito po ang ating kasama pa from TESDA. And if you would like to contribute to the discussion, please feel free to do so. At ang department din po is working very closely with our government agencies through platforms like Philippine Skills Framework to address job skills mismatch. Sinasabi po na marami po tayong mga available jobs. The problem is we do not have the needed competencies, the skills, the learnings that will require them, although industries in the country. So ang kailangan po natin ay ihanda yung ating mga manggagawa, not only for the current needs, but also for the future needs of our industries and to make them more competitive. Everything that we do is about laying the ground to enable them to work, be competent, and also succeed in whatever fields that they're going to choose. So these are some of the things that are also lined up for them, and we have been doing this to help reduce poverty and unlock the full potential of Filipino workforce. Kasama din ho sa framework na yan yung job opportunities in different sectors, career paths, job roles and occupations, key skills and competence needed for job, and also additional skills that support job success. And the next slide will show you some of the social protection programs. Of course, very popular as part of our interventions is the Tulong Panghanap Buhay sa ating Disadvantaged Workers Program or TUPAD, which provides short-term wage employment opportunities to disadvantaged workers for a period of 10 to 90 days. And in 2024 po, there were more than 4.7 million beneficiaries provided with salaries for TUPAD projects undertaken amounting to more than 2.4 billion. Or 24 billion rather. And then this package assistance includes salaries equivalent to the prevailing minimum wage in the region, orientation on basic safety and health, emergency first aid, provision of personal protective equipment, and linkage to active labor market. Ang target po natin, itong ating mga TUPAD beneficiaries will graduate from being TUPAD beneficiaries. That they too can access employment opportunities and later on also become regular employees, workers with regular salaries and more sustainable jobs. And some of our TUPAD beneficiaries are also beneficiaries of our livelihood programs, because if they are not or they do not intend to be in employment, but they can have opportunity and the knack also to handle businesses or starting with small businesses, we also provide them those kind of assistance. And for those with businesses or small livelihood undertaking, they can still access our livelihood programs through our livelihood enhancement scheme. And under our livelihood integrated development program or DOLE integrated livelihood program, we do not just provide financial assistance, but we also provide some technical assistance and continuing monitoring of these programs and projects to ensure their sustainability. As we all know, for all of us who have been handling livelihood programs, many agencies are involved in livelihood programs. One of the challenges is the sustainability of these projects. So this livelihood program is also available to our disadvantaged workers and to those who are ready to undertake some business projects, business-related projects, and they can immediately and can directly coordinate with any of our 16 regional offices and provincial offices. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Assistant Secretary Amarfina Reyes. Ladies and gentlemen, the Assistant Secretary for Local Government, Attorney Jessie Howard S. Laniete.
So thank you for giving us the opportunity to discuss the critical role of local government units in addressing poverty in the Philippines. We will go through the current poverty situation, the legal frameworks that guide LGU efforts, and the challenges they face in combating poverty. Now, as of 2023, approximately 15.5% of our population, or over 70 million Filipinos, are living below the poverty threshold. this statistic highlights a significant issue that persists across our nation. Poverty remains deeply entrenched, particularly in rural areas and among vulnerable sectors such as farmers, indigenous people, and people with disabilities. In fact, 1 in every 6 Filipinos struggles to afford basic necessities such as food, shelter, healthcare, and education. This underscores the need for immediate and effective action to alleviate poverty. Now, what role do the LGUs play in addressing this issue? LGUs are at the backbone of poverty alleviation efforts in the Philippines. They are the main implementers of government programs and services at the grassroots level, and they are in a unique position to identify, assess, and address the specific needs of their communities. By being on the front lines, LGUs have the ability to respond more effectively to local challenges and work closely with their constituents to develop tailored solutions. They are essential players in improving the quality of life for the poorest segments of society. Now, under the Local Government Code of 1991, or RA 7160, LGUs are empowered to exercise a range of powers necessary for the promotion of general welfare. Ito yung sinasabi nating Section 16 ng ating Local Government Code, or the General Welfare Clause, which includes supporting health and social services, promoting employment and economic opportunities, and ensuring access to essential services like education, like clean water, housing. The LGUs have a responsibility to support marginalized sectors as well, such as women, children, senior citizens, and PWDs. Additionally, under Section 17 of the Local Government Code, it mandates LGUs to deliver a wide variety of services that directly impact poverty alleviation. These services include agricultural support, health and social welfare services, education and their programs, public markets, livelihood opportunities, and housing for low-income residents. A key strategy for addressing poverty at the local level is the formulation of the Local Poverty Reduction Action Plan under RA 11291, or the Magna Carta of the Poor. This plan is developed through a participatory process involving the LGU, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders to directly address the needs of marginalized communities. Moreover, LGUs also play a critical role in stimulating local economic development by supporting micro, small, and medium enterprises. Ito po yung ating MSMEs, local industries, and job creation through public-private partnerships. Despite the significant role that LGUs play, there are several challenges they face in poverty alleviation efforts. First, limited financial resources. Not LGUs are created equal. Some of the LGUs, especially those in the 5th to 6th class municipalities, are struggling with their insufficient funds that affect ang implementation nila and to sustain PPAs to address poverty gaps. Pangalawa is the lack of capacity and technical expertise. LGUs have difficulty on how to address the poverty gaps due to their lack of technical know-how for possible intervention that may impact the upliftment of the lives of their community. The third is the lack of data and targeting mechanisms. Now, data is essential in planning and policy making, and having an evidence-based data is great help on identification of target beneficiaries and proper intervention. Without data, it is difficult to assess and identify strategies to address these poverty gaps. The fourth is short-term planning. Short-term planning because short lang din ang term ng ating local government officials. We are limited by a 3-year term. Short-term planning prevents LGUs from developing sustainable long-term solutions to poverty, focusing instead on temporary measures that do not address structural issues or systematic causes of poverty. Weak community participation is another issue. This lack of participation of the communities in local planning is also identified as a gap. There is a need to solicit their valuable insights, hear their voices, and involve them in decision making. Finally, the vulnerability to disasters and climate change is an ongoing challenge. Natural disasters like floods and typhoons and earthquakes devastate communities and destroying infrastructure, also disrupting essential services. Poor communities, especially in vulnerable regions, are disproportionately affected. Without prior and proper resilience-building measures, these communities are pushed deeper into poverty. Now, despite these challenges, there are frameworks in place that help guide LGUs in their poverty alleviation efforts as displayed on the screen. The National Poverty Reduction Plan aims to reduce multidimensional poverty through ensuring the poor's fundamental rights to food, decent work, and quality education, adequate housing, and the highest attainable standard of health. These are essential components of the broader strategy to reduce poverty nationwide. The Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, or the 4Ps program, implemented by the DSWD with the LGU support, provides cash assistance to low-income families to break the cycle of poverty. Similarly, the ILG circulars on educational access, cooperative development, and poverty reduction programs continue to engage LGUs in creating meaningful solutions for underserved areas. Now, in conclusion, while LGUs play a vital role in poverty alleviation, they operate in a challenging environment. To make local poverty reduction efforts more effective and sustainable, we must focus on strengthening LGU capacities, improving governance systems, and fostering better coordination with the national government and, of course, our partners here present today. The LGUs can also utilize the data from community-based monitoring system as basis for possible interventions in policy making to address poverty at the grassroots level. CBMS as a poverty monitoring tool can identify who are poor, their specific locations, and the cause of poverty. By empowering our LGUs with these necessary resources and expertise and support, we can build a more resilient and inclusive society that lifts families out of poverty and creates long-term opportunities for all. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas.
Thank you very much, Assistant Secretary Laniente. And we have the Undersecretary of the Department of Agrarian Reform to discuss to us transparency and accountability measures. We will be having our speaker, Undersecretary Amihilda Sangkopan.
It is an honor and a privilege to share with you guys the Department of Agrarian Reform's continuing efforts under the measures to enhance transparency and accountability as we deliver the mandate expected of us under various agrarian reform laws, particularly Republic Act 6657 and now Republic Act 11953, which is the new Agrarian Emancipation Act. Allow me to present to you with pride the accomplishment of the Department of Agrarian Reform under the PBBM administration. As of March 2025 po, ang total na napamahagi na po nating titulo, titles distributed under the PBBM administration is 198,223 titles to 244,274 hectares to 192,451 farmers. In terms of implementation of the law that I have mentioned earlier on, the new Agrarian Emancipation Act or Republic Act 11953 enacted into law under PBBM's administration last July 7, 2023, we already have distributed 235,532 certificates of condonation with release from mortgage to 202,259 ARBs, covering 257,861 hectares with 10.998 billion pesos condoned in terms of amortization of our farmers. So one of the programs that we implement under support service is the Partnership Against Hunger and Poverty. Ang total pong na-yield niyang gross sales for our Agrarian Reform Beneficiary Organization as of March is 5.338 billion pesos. It covers partnership between our farmers, providing access and availability of various local nutritious products for different government and private institutions. The most recent memorandum of agreement that was signed between DAR is the one with BJMP and with the Philippine National Police Academy. In terms of irrigation projects, of the 196 irrigation projects, 151 have been completed. We still have 45 ongoing. The total project cost is 2.4 billion pesos, covering 8,626 hectares of land that will benefit 8,202 ARBs. On the farm-to-market roads, 314 farm-to-market roads have been completed. That covers 254.95 kilometers. That will benefit 74,547 ARBs. The total project cost is 4.028 billion. At meron pa po siyang ongoing projects numbering at 261 with total amount of 5.223 billion. Total distance to be covered is 256.301 kilometers, benefiting 41,657 agrarian reform beneficiaries. Isa po sa pillar of service ng Department of Agrarian Reform ay ang tinatawag na Agrarian Justice Delivery. This is resolving cases pending before regional directors, the Office of the Secretary, and before our adjudication board. After 30 years, yung vintage agrarian case po sa Tinang Concepcion Tarlac, may resolution na po. Yung kaso din po covering Golden Country Farms sa Mamburao, Occidental Mindoro, resolved and land titles have been distributed after 35 years. These are just two of the many vintage cases that under the PBBM administration with Secretary Conrado M. Estrella III leading the Department of Agrarian Reform. In case of resolution rate, ang resolution rate po sa Agrarian Justice Delivery in terms of the cases pending before DARAB, the ALI cases, at yung representation po ng DAR sa judicial and quasi-judicial body ay 90.26%. The next few slides would give you an idea. Yung ating pong mga kababayan na dekada pong nag-antay ng kanilang titulo. Dalawa lang po ito sa karamihan. Nakikita po natin kwento ng ating mga magsasaka. Si Tatay Simeon Academia ng Negros Oriental ay 101 years old na ARB po natin. Natanggap niya ang kanyang land title mula sa ating Pangulo at kay Secretary Conrado Estrella III after 42 years. Si Nanay Mercedita Z. Juan ng Aklan, 86 years old po na ARB. Natanggap po niya ang kanyang land title after 32 years from our President at mula kay Sec. Conrad. Dalawa lang po ito sa maraming ARBs po natin na dekada pong nag-antay ng kanilang titulo mula 10 years, 25 years, 28 years, 27 years, and 30 years. Aling-sunod po yan sa habilin ng ating mahal na Pangulo, sa ating pinakamamahal na kalim, Secretary Conrado M. Estrella III, na siguraduhin may sariling lupa ang ating mga magsasaka para sa bagong bukas na masagana. So that's it. We all understand that the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program is a social justice program of our country. Gadon. At the very core of our work is to implement Republic Act number 6657 and all other agrarian reform-related laws. Our mandate is to lead in the implementation of CARB through three pillars: land tenure improvement, agrarian justice, and coordinated support services. Even those in the private sector would probably be familiar with what is being delivered by the Department of Agrarian Reform. When you speak of land tenure service, dyan po napapaloob ang land acquisition and distribution, na kung saan tayo po ay umiikot, ang ating secretary ay umiikot kasama ng ating Pangulo sa iba't ibang rehiyon para mamahagi ng titulo ng lupa sa ating mga magsasaka. Pag pinag-usapan po naman natin ang agrarian justice delivery, dyan po papasok ang agrarian legal services, yung tinatawag na pag-provide ng agrarian legal assistance, and yung fast adjudication ng mga quasi-judicial cases before the DAR Adjudication Board. At syempre, yung sinabi po kanina ni Secretary Gadon na mahalaga na tugunan when it comes to poverty alleviation is the agricultural productivity. At dyan po pumapasok yung coordinated support service mula po sa pag-organisa ng ating mga magsasaka na pamahagian ng lupa into organization, providing them with trainings and helping them out in product development, and up until helping them on how to come up with business plans, provision of farm infrastructures, facilities, and equipments. We've mentioned that, and of course, one of the most important thing is the provision of access to capital and access of our ARBs to basic social services. Why transparency and accountability matter? It matters because it ensures our resources are maximized for the intended beneficiaries. It will strengthen the public trust and legitimize our interventions. Kasi lalabas po siya that our interventions are what are the needs of our people rather. It enhances the program's impact, sustainability, and equity. It provides higher success rates, especially in achieving poverty alleviation targets, and it contributes to the broader good governance reform under the umbrella of the Bagong Pilipinas agenda. The current measures to strengthen transparency and accountability that we implement in the Department of Agrarian Reform are as follows: public disclosure of program implementation and fund utilization, community-based monitoring and feedback mechanism. This is where partnership with CSOs, partnership with the private sector gets in, strengthened internal control systems, and the digitization of processes for better traceability. Pinaka-importante po sa 5 nakalista dito is yung transparent beneficiary identification and selection. Ito po yung kabuang proseso ng land acquisition and distribution. At ang land acquisition and distribution, yung pamamahagi po ng lupain, ang pag-distribute po ng mga titulo, that is the very core and the very heart and soul of agrarian reform. It comes in 6 steps. From validation and projection of land holdings for coverage, kailangan na po transparent kami dyan and accountable. Lalong-lalo na pagdating sa identification, screening, and selection of ARBs. We have several laws that will follow. The several slides that will follow are actually the steps on the identification and screening of and selection of ARBs. Sa katunayan, if we already have the list of ARBs who will be benefiting from the land holding that we will be distributing, that has to be posted in a conspicuous place so that everyone can see. Those who would want to oppose na magsasabi na, no, that particular identified ARB, probable ARB, does not actually reside in this area or is not doing farming in this particular locality, yun po pinapakinggan natin. Step 3 is the conduct of land survey, and kahit po sa step 4, yung pagkandak ng field investigation to check on the veracity and validity of the identified ARBs, and in the conduct of the survey, joint pa rin po siya in partnership with other institutions and even with CSOs on the ground. And then valuation of the landowner's compensation, generation and registration of LOAS is step 5, and step 6 ay yung nakikita nyo pong distribution of LOAS plus the installation of the ARBs on the awarded lands. Conclusion, with every title we award, every support we provide, and every voice we listen to, DAR will always move forward. Stronger, more transparent, and more accountable toward building a just and prosperous Pilipinas. DAR's contribution to PBBM's legacy sa lupa ng pag-asa, we deliver reform and we will empower Filipinos. Thank you po at maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat Secretary Gadon at sa buong pamilya po ng Office of the Presidential Advisor on Poverty Alleviation for the opportunity to present and to be heard. Thank you po.
Maraming salamat at muli ako ay nagpapasalamat ng taus-puso sa inyong pagsali dito sa ating forum, and meron pa tayong mga ibang forum sa mga darating na araw. No? Maraming salamat muli at mabuhay si Presidente Bongbong Marcos, mabuhay ang Pilipino at mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Secretary Gadon, for your inspiring message, and to our distinguished speakers for enlightening us with the multi-sectoral government interventions that bring us closer to a no-poverty empowered bagong Pilipinas. Achieving that dream may be a very daunting task, but we intend that we have a slogan whenever we have daunting tasks ahead. Kung sama-sama, kayang-kaya. And so at this point, we shall now proceed with the presentation of certificates and tokens of appreciation to our esteemed speakers and panelists. Please allow me to read the citation. Certificate of Appreciation is proudly presented to for their invaluable contribution as a guest speaker during the collaborative discussion on social amelioration program efficiency, transparency, and local engagement forum held on April 29, 2025 at the Susan V. Ople Building, Multipurpose Hall, Malugay, Bel Air Village, Makati City. Your insights, expertise, and dedication have greatly enriched the discussions, inspiring collective action towards eradicating poverty in the Philippines. We extend our heartfelt gratitude for your time and effort in sharing your knowledge with us. Given this 29th day of April 2025 in Makati City, Philippines. Signed, Presidential Advisor, Secretary Lorenzo G. Gadon.
Inyo pong napanood ang mga kaganapan sa Second Poverty Alleviation Forum. Muli, isa lang yan sa mga pagsisikap ng ating pamahalaan sa pangunguna ni Pangulong Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. para pagbutihin ang estado ng bansa at ang pamumuhay ng mga Pilipino. Maraming salamat uli sa inyong panunood. Magkita-kita tayo sa susunod na Biyernes mula alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng gabi para talakayin ng iba pang mga mainit na usapin sa ating lipunan at ang mga programa ng pamahalaan sa bagong Pilipinas. Ako pa rin po ang inyong papasek, Larry Gadon, at ito ang Larry Gadon Live!